Welcome to the Copperfield Electric Podcast.
And welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're opening up a topic that is arguably one of the most critical and definitely one of the most stressful parts of owning a home.
We are talking about the true cost and, the real complexity of rewiring your entire house.
Right.
And we're diving deep into a stack of materials shared by a listener.
Mm-hmm.
It seems they're looking at a classic older home and, well, they need to know what they're really signing up for, electrically speaking.
Which is such a smart move because the sticker shock is very, very real. I mean, rewiring is a fundamental investment in safety and modern living.
But it comes at a price.
A steep one. The sources we looked at are pretty consistent. For a full residential rewire, you're looking at total costs that range, they range dramatically, from maybe $2,000 for something minor all the way up to $15,000, and often significantly more.
$15,000 or even higher.
Wow!
That is a massive variability.
It is.
So I guess the mission for this deep dive is to dissect exactly why that range is so wide. We need to break down the key drivers, labor, materials, and all that complexity.
Precisely. And I think we should frame this whole conversation around, what reliable professional service looks like. A lot of this research touches on companies like Copperfield Electric, which provides 24-hour service across Southern California and Orange County.
Because when you're talking about investment, this big, reliability is everything.
It's the only way forward.
Got it. Okay, so let's start with the basics. Why is this huge investment even necessary? What does it buy you right away?
It buys you system integrity and compliance. Older homes, especially anything built before the 70s, they just weren't designed to handle the electrical load we have today.
You mean all our devices?
All our devices. Think about it. High-efficiency washers, central air, multiple computers, EV chargers, modern kitchens, the list goes on. Rewiring ensures your system can handle that load safely, and, this is crucial, that it meets current local building codes.
And I'm guessing ignoring old wiring is just asking for trouble.
It is. It's an electrical fire waiting to happen. Or, best case, you're dealing with constantly tripping breakers and damaged appliances. Rewiring is what removes those hidden dangers.
Okay, let's unpack that price tag. You mentioned $2,000 to $15,000. What's the single biggest piece of that pie? It has to be labor, right?
It is absolutely labor. The technical skill, the sheer time it takes, the licenses required. Labor costs consistently make up the largest portion of the project. We're talking 30 to 40% of the total price.
30 to 40%.
And sometimes even higher, if the walls are hard to get into or the structure is just tricky.
So that really changes the math. What are we looking at for hourly rates, especially in a place like Southern California?
Well, licensed electricians typically charge between, say, $50 and $100 per hour. But in an area like Orange County, you're often seeing rates toward the higher end of that scale.
Or even more for specialized jobs.
Or more for emergency work, yeah. It really comes down to their experience, union status, and just the local economy.
So if the rates are pretty consistent among professionals, the real variable is just the amount of time it takes. Can you give us a sense of that?
The time difference is colossal. If you're rewiring a small, accessible home, let's say under 1,000 square feet, maybe everything is easy to get to. That might only take 2 or 3 days of really intensive work.
But that's the ideal scenario. The reality, especially in older homes, is probably much messier.
Exactly. When you start dealing with things like inaccessible crawl spaces, thick plaster walls, or having to snake new lines across multiple floors, you're probably cutting and repairing drywall too. That project quickly expands.
So that 2-day job could turn into what?
A week, maybe 2, of consistent work for a larger, more complex rewire. You're paying for the precision, really, the skill to map out a whole new system without totally destroying the house.
And I imagine the sources are extremely clear on this. Only use a licensed and insured pro. Trying to save money on labor here sounds like a classic mistake.
It's the definition of a false economy. Hiring someone unlicensed might save you cash up front, but if they mess up, all the liability is on you. If the system fails inspection, or worse, if that faulty wiring causes a fire,
your insurance won't touch it.
They may not cover a dime if the work wasn't permitted and done by a licensed, bonded, and insured professional. Investing in quality labor is what saves you from a potential $100,000 disaster.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so we've established labor as the big one. Let's pivot to materials. What are the actual physical parts that add up?
Right, the materials. This is interesting because it's all about the modern standard. And the core cost here is the wire itself.
Which is copper.
It's all copper wire now. It's the top choice because it's an excellent conductor, it's highly durable, and it's extremely safe under heavy loads.
And copper prices are not low.
They're definitely a factor, yeah. Copper is significantly more expensive than the older stuff, like aluminum wire that a lot of homes were built with. So when you rewire, you're basically ripping out an older, often compromised system and replacing every inch of it with a premium material.
I think we should pause on that for a second. The copper versus aluminum thing. A lot of older homes have aluminum, so why is it considered so unsafe now?
That is a crucial safety point. Aluminum wiring, which was common in the 60s and 70s, it tends to oxidize. And when it oxidizes, it creates resistance at the connection point, so at your outlets or in the panel.
And resistance means heat.
Exactly. It causes those connections to heat up, which can lead to them becoming loose. It's a known fire hazard. Copper just doesn't have that severe oxidation problem, so it's much, much more stable over the decades.
Okay, that explains why it has to be a total replacement. So besides all that new copper wire, what other parts are adding to the budget?
It's the entire ecosystem, really. You're paying for new outlets, new switches, all the new safety breakers, GFCI and AFCI breakers, and very often you need a whole new electrical panel.
Ah, the panel upgrade.
Yeah, if you're upgrading from an old fuse box or a little 100-amp panel to a modern 200-amp service, that alone can add thousands to the bill for both materials and labor.
And quickly, before we move on, I know the source materials mentioned LED lighting.
Yeah.
Are people bundling that in with a rewire?
Absolutely. It's the perfect time to do it. The walls are often open. The electricians are already running new lines.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. And LED lighting has become the top choice because the energy savings are immediate and pretty significant.
Smart. So you wrap it into one big project.
It's a really smart investment strategy, yeah.
Okay, let's tackle the high end of that cost spectrum, the $15,000 plus projects. What pushes the cost up so dramatically? It sounds like it's all about the age and complexity of the house.
Age and complexity, they're the exponential cost drivers. I mean, size is simple. A 4,000 square foot house needs more wire than a 1,500 square foot one. But the age of the structure, that's where the real headaches begin.
So what are we finding in these older homes? What are these archaic systems?
The biggest culprit is something called knob and tube wiring.
Knob and
Yeah, you see it in houses built from the 1880s up to the 1940s. It uses these little ceramic knobs to hold the wires up and ceramic tubes to protect them when they run through beams. But the critical thing is it has no ground wire.
So what's the big problem with that today? Why does it have to come out completely?
Multiple reasons. First, the insulation on that old wire, which is often rubber or cloth, is usually brittle and just falling apart. That means you can have exposed live wires in your walls.
That's terrifying.
It is.
No.
Second, no ground wire means it's incompatible with modern three-prong appliances and safety devices like GFCI outlets. But the most dangerous part, K&T was designed to dissipate heat into open air. So when someone comes along and blows modern insulation into the walls or attic,
You're trapping the heat.
you're trapping all that heat right against the wires. It can easily start a fire.
So an electrician isn't just replacing wire, they're doing a safety excavation, cutting through plaster and lath to get this fire hazard out.
It's extremely invasive, and that leads directly to other necessary upgrades. Because these old houses were designed for so little power, rewiring almost always means adding a bunch of new circuits to handle modern loads.
Let's talk about that. Dedicated circuits.
Yeah.
What are they and why are they so important?
A dedicated circuit is basically one circuit breaker that's reserved for just one major appliance. Think your refrigerator, your oven, your washer, or an EV charger.
Right.
These modern appliances draw a lot more power. If you try to run one on an old shared circuit, you'll constantly be tripping the breaker, or worse, causing it to overheat. This project is the chance to do it right.
I never even thought about how many circuits a modern kitchen alone would need.
It's the standard now. And speaking of modern tech, if the homeowner is thinking about adding an ADU, an accessory dwelling unit, which is huge in Southern California, the complexity just jumps again.
ADUs are everywhere. So electrically, what does adding one do to the cost?
Well, an ADU is basically a small second home. It needs its own load calculation, so you will almost certainly need main panel upgrade to handle all that extra demand. And in some cases, the city might even require a whole separate meter and service for the ADU.
Wow, that's a huge logistical and financial hurdle.
It is. It's a major project on its own.
Okay, that gives us great clarity on the cost drivers. Let's touch on that final layer of expense, the administrative stuff, permits and fees.
Permit necessity is absolutely non-negotiable for a job this big. You just can't skip it.
And those fees are, what, a few $100s?
Typically between $100 and $500, yeah. But the cost of the permit isn't the point. It's about what happens if you don't get one. The stakes are enormous. It's all about liability and your future resale value. A permit ensures the work is inspected and meets all local safety codes. If you ever sell your home, the buyer's inspector is going to check for permits on a rewire. If they find unpermitted work,
It could kill the sale.
it can stall or kill the sale, or at the very least, force you to get it all inspected and probably redone. And again, your insurance company could deny a claim if the damage was caused by unpermitted work.
So the permit isn't a cost, it's a record. It's protection for your investment.
Exactly. It's why you have to work with a licensed electrician, like a company like Copperfield Electric, who handles all that for you. They know the codes, they pull the permits, they make sure it passes inspection. It's professional assurance.
Okay, so let's tie this all together with the profile of Copperfield Electric. What defines them?
Their position as a family-owned business that's all about reliability. Their core thing is that every single one of their electricians is highly trained, licensed, bonded, insured, and background checked.
Which addresses all those safety concerns we just talked about.
It's non-negotiable peace of mind, really.
And their availability is a big deal too, right?
Right.
Especially with emergencies.
Absolutely. They stress their 24/7 availability for emergencies. Power outages and system failures don't happen on a 9-to-5 schedule. Knowing you have that immediate professional access, backed by a 100% guarantee, is critical.
And beyond emergencies, what about the big ticket upgrades we've been discussing?
They handle the whole spectrum. Full panel upgrades and replacements, which are often part of a rewire, full electrical installations for new construction, including those really complex ADU projects. And very relevant today, they specialize in EV charger installations for homes and businesses.
So they're equipped for all that long-term planning.
Yeah.
For our listeners in the area, what's their specific service footprint?
They proudly serve Orange County and the surrounding Southern California areas. Their focus is on being that trusted local expert in cities like Irvine, Anaheim, Santa Ana, Costa Mesa, Newport Beach, Laguna Beach, and Mission Viejo.
That brings it all full circle. So let's summarize the key takeaways for our listener who's trying to budget for this.
Okay, here's what you need to remember. Rewiring costs are all over the place, but they're driven by 4 main factors that have to be on any quote you get.
And those 4 are?
First, home size. That dictates materials and time. Second, the age and type of wiring, specifically if you have something hazardous like knob and tube that needs to be completely ripped out. Third, the cost of licensed labor, which is 30 to 40% of the job. And finally, permit fees and compliance, which protects the value of your home.
So the goal isn't just the lowest quote, it's the most detailed quote.
Exactly. And I think this leads to one final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Rewiring secures the safety and function of your home. It's the foundation. So once that foundation is solid, what's the next upgrade that provides the greatest long-term financial security? Is it a panel upgrade for more capacity? Or installing that EV charger now? Which of those moves adds the most to your home's eventual resale value? That's the strategic question to think about once the basic safety is locked in.